Your 2 thou
small.
The bore is 2 thou small.
So this is supposed to be 4280, and I'm measuring 4278 on the bore.
Not the most accurate measure, but close. So here's an interesting thing we've found. Fresh engine, customer bought from somebody else. Put it in his pulling truck. It apparently has no power. Big block Chevy, nice pistons, forged steel crank, factory roller, hydraulic roller. They wore out 2 starters trying to start it. They haven't even pulled with it yet. And here's the piston ring we pulled out of there. Where's the gap?
So I'm 4273
There's the gap.
on,
and
I got plenty of piston wall.
Guys, you're supposed to file fit a file fit ring.
This guy forgot about the file and the fit, and
if you put them in there that tight, and the old cylinders show a little abuse, I'm thinking we have our answer. So here's a little interesting tidbit, late 90s big block. Factory 4-bolt main. I mean, here's my surprise, something I didn't realize. Look at the heads. Factory rec port heads. Not a bad intake runner in them either. Pretty nice straight shot to the valve. If I can get a good shot of that. Need a light, really. Pretty nice shot to the valve. The exhaust side, however, a little shitty. Great big old ridge in there. Would take very little to knock that out, but there's some horsepower there. Factory roller cam. So that makes life easy. I mean, you probably make some decent horsepower with this thing without breaking the bank. So we got to find more of these late 90s big blocks. This one had a pretty nice scat crank in it.
Nice forged.
Nice forged scat crank. I don't know what the hell these rods are.
They're maybe the original.
They may be the scats. I don't know.
They might be
the originals. Your scat's usually marked, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I think those are
probably original GM rod.
Yeah, they look pretty good.
Looks like an Icon piston.
It is an Icon piston.
It is. Nice ring pack. If only the feller would have filed the rings.
I mean, then we wouldn't have work though. So
I guess.
Be thankful then.
Yeah, I suppose. But I mean, what should we have on this thing? Right around 30?
Right around 30, probably. I mean, considering it's going to be truck pulling.
And what's it good in it? Right around 0?
I think it did have 0 until it ran and forced itself to have ring gap.
I guess.
I think Buddy might have installed those pistons.
So you put the pistons in with a big hammer, and then I'm not sure what happened to these cam bearings, but
I think it had something to do with the friction from
they had a terrible life. Just a terrible life.
I think it had something to do with smacking the pistons in with them all.
Potentially.
I mean, that quality of workmanship is outstanding.
They did a nice home job.
That actually looks like somebody else machined it from the person.
He may have sent it out for machining and then
put it together himself.
Yeah, that's quite possible. But
it would appear that way because somebody, although it is under the bore spec, it actually measures right for piston wall clearance. Yeah. So it actually does.
How much piston wall clearance? Yeah,
or 6.5.
6.5,
which is plenty.
Plenty, yeah.
I mean, that's good for power outer and everything.
Yeah.
I mean, so not real sure what happened. I mean, the thrust is a little bit worn, but I mean, it was on an auto too. So
somebody missed.
Somebody
missed the ball on that good shape. And here, this dude's putting rings in there that are dog tight. Nothing stuck in the pistons.
Yeah.
So all you guys that talked about our disaster in the dyno video, having rings stuck in the pistons due to end gap,
false.
Perhaps false.
I mean, I think that's a proven. I think that's like a proven point.
Yeah.
Man, it even looks like they line honed it. Like, I mean,
well, it turned really nice once we got the pistons out of it. Yeah, I think they probably did line hone it.
I don't know if it's that or if it's a real low mileage book. I'd love to know what happened here, though. Somebody really...
I think she dusted herself at one point.
Somebody Dr. Senderrod.
That right there, I mean, anybody should knock the stress risers out of that. You shouldn't really put a motor back together
like that.
With that sharp edge.
No, that would be considered wrong.
It's a place looking to crack. But hell, glad there's people out there that give us work. That's awesome.
It is awesome. It's a great day for it. I mean,
we can do a little grinding on those heads and a little grinding on those rings, and
we do a little port work on those heads.
Put a hog ass cam in it. We're gonna look like heroes.
You can maybe hit it with a little valve job and an hour or two of porting. And
I think it needs a lot of valve job.
Yeah. And I mean, no, but seriously, we hit this thing with a couple days of just proper work.
Yeah.
And this thing's going to go from being a 300 horse slug to probably something that'll do, I'd say 600 probably.
I think we should take it to the dyno.
Yeah. I mean, 600 on a pull truck is, you know, a half-ton pull truck is going to romp pretty
fair to the Midland.
Fair.
And we'll gap those rings enough for a little shot of smack.
I personally would love to go there and spray it. You know, personally, I'm that kind of a guy.
I think we should spray it.
I think we should spray it too.
Yep. Well,
cool.
We'll order parts. Happy iron head porter.
Love it. So we're back on these big block rec ports today. This is the 880 casting. It's like a 91 and up rectangle port, big block Chevy casting. They came on the big block with the stuck rings.
Well, they weren't stuck.
Well, they were just the wrong.
They were just jammed.
Solid. I mean, don't gap them or anything.
No.
The guy that used the right stuff on the head gaskets too. Really nice work. Clearly a professional. You can see that's all. Look at all that right stuff. He's just.
I just look at the factory valve job.
So factory valve job,
kind of interesting,
kind of terrible in a way. So if you look at it,
there's a monster ridge in that exhaust side.
Oh yeah, no, okay. With that we can talk about that. So this basically, the one good thing to come at all from the 90s was they actually did start to the older castings. They just put like a 45 degree on top of whatever casting nastiness they had.
Yeah.
These they actually went in and they actually sort of cut out.
Started to cut and throat
extra material. So the throat, in my, it's as big as you would want. Even then, I'm going to have to put a valve job pretty deep because if you measure the throat like right below the valve, I'm getting, say, 2040, 2050. I have to go in pretty deep before I'm 190 something. So ideally, around 90% of your total valve size would be your throat size. So our smallest point, we're gonna be grinding material out of there. Our smallest point ideally would be 1.96 inches, which would be just a bit above the valve.
I wonder why they would have cut it out bigger like that.
Well, I just think it probably was an easier one-step tooling thing or something.
Could be.
Also, I'm sure these varied a little bit depending on setup and whatever else. At least I will say one thing. Is it's plenty. It saves me a step of having to go in there and do this. The only thing I have to do is I have to cut the valve job a little deeper to get all my angles nicely on the seat, which isn't a bad thing because usually these seats are cut a little tad small in total diameter. So then once you go around there, we're actually going to open it up to the total diameter. So it should give us a little more room to get all our angles in there and
stuff. Can't tell on your first one you cut.
Also on this, the good part is if we look here, look how unshrouded the intake valve is stock. So we've got no issues at all. We've got well over a 1/4 inch beside the valve. So we're gonna have no issues with opening clearance and stuff like that. I mean, we've got all that room.
I can't get over the runners on this head. I'm so used to the late model peanut port stuff.
Yeah, and
I just haven't. I never dreamed they'd go back to making stock heads on late model big blocks that had
rectangles,
actually decent sized runners, and they're pretty nice, clean runner.
Yeah, there's the good port and bad port still a thing on these.
The intake side is better than the exhaust side.
So I mean, this is your good port. This is big block. This is normal. Yeah. That you don't have your rocker boss in. This is your bad port. It's got the rocker boss in it. Yeah. So what we're going to do is we're going to try and remove as much of that rocker boss to get it to match this side as possible. And then we're going to go ahead.
There's enough meat above that to...
Oh yeah, there's tons of meat.
So it won't do any harm.
No.
As far as your
I'm not going to necessarily take all of it out of there either. I'll just take a good amount. We're going to go in here. We're going to trim up around the valve, you know, around the valve job, the factory valve job.
Yeah, where that ridge is and stuff.
The exhaust side, there's a couple little lumpy bumpies in the ports we're going to take out.
The exhaust side has a lot more to do than the intake side.
And then, of course, this is your main thing across that short side. You know, I mean, we've got a 90-degree angle stock.
Yeah.
I mean, that needs to get...
You'll soften that edge right in there.
That needs to get pulled down. Yeah, then you see here on the exhaust side where the... And we can remove a little bit of material here, not too much, but right where that head bolt is, they really add a lot of material there. So just a few.
Right, like in there.
Yeah, there's a knife edge right here.
It's wicked red in there.
Yeah. So just probably a good 4 or 5 hours of.
There's not a lot to do in there compared to.
If it was a set of aluminum heads with the same amount of work, it would be like a very quick job.
Yeah.
But anyways, it's going to take a little while. But should really net.
But that set of heads for a budget big block build is not a bad set of heads.
For sure. And if somebody, you know, somebody with a die grinder in 4 or 5 hours time, they can make a great machine out of it. So. Yeah,
and then the block is, you know, good hefty 4-bolt block, and
yeah, the decks are okay thickness, and no, there's no.
The guy didn't kill the cylinders, so that's good.
No, it's going to require a nice hone.
I don't know why he didn't kill the cylinders.
I don't know how.
Evidently, it didn't run very long.
I mean, he definitely killed the cam bearings.
Because this, I mean, yeah, I got a feeling he didn't put cam bearings in it.
I have a feeling he blew.
I just can't get over that. Is the ring gap.
Zero ring gap
that you can't see.
Right.
And I don't think the ring's even in there that straight right now. I mean, good Lord.
No, I mean, there's a reason the piston's pushed in and out of the hole so terribly.
And then we found another little treat in this bad boy. Interestingly, connecting rod. This is a floating pin. I do not see a bushing in there. Somebody took a stock set of rods, honed them out, so the wrist pin would float through them. Not sure about a wrist pin. There's not a lot of oil up in there. I'm not sure about a wrist pin on steel. I've never seen it. I don't know how to judge it.
I mean, I've heard about them doing it in race stuff way back in the day.
Did you?
But I mean, you can also see marks already in here. You can see heat checking marks here.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, the fact the piston didn't push up and down the bore easily could also lend a little bit of that. But I mean, this is...
I don't see damage on the pin, or at least the first one we pulled.
This is not a... Regardless, why the heck would you have a really nice...
Really nice piston, really nice crank.
Nice, yeah.
And a stock rod.
A stock rod. It doesn't make sense. Why would you keep a stock oil pan that you blew the motor up in, leave the trash in the bottom of the pan, rebolt it on the engine? I don't understand.
I don't get that. Because somebody did some really nice machine work on this thing.
And then there was another...
Somebody else assembled it.
Really shoddy mechanic that just...
Well, a guy that surely didn't know race motors.
No.
You know, surely didn't.
No. So, no, pretty terrible workmanship, but that's okay.
So you got the old head up on old Bessie here.
Yeah, we're going to get into...
Winona.
Old Winona. We're going to get grinding, and we'll see what kind of gains we can get out of this rig.
Kind of curious to put this one on the dyno and see what it'll make.
No, we'll get what we can out of these heads, and I mean, we could, of course, increase valve size and stuff.
And you got like a weigh-in single plane coming?
Yep. It's like a Track Warrior single
Why did you choose the weigh-in?
It wasn't the Holley Strip Dominator, which is the same design from 1985, which is good, but the runners are this long, so it's going to be great for like 8,500 RPM and not.
Yeah.
The weigh-in's a little bit of a taller intake. It's got a really big open plenum. It's really made as a Dominator intake, and they make it with like a flange cast down to a 4150.
How come we didn't just sell them a Dominator and put a Dominator intake on it?
I mean, I don't think we need a Dominator on it. I'd rather, with the automatic and stuff, a little more signal.
Yeah. I think we got a delivery here.
Yeah, we probably do.
Let's come back to this.
Yeah, the old 1 horsepower
That thing is
snap-on.
a beast.
It literally will spin the bit out of the chuck before it
Stop.
slows down at all. So here we go. I'm just starting to remove a little bit of that material.
Yeah.
You know, that as a contrast, we got this one here is the same port.
Yeah.
you know, just getting some material pulled out of it. We're not going to go nuts, of course, but just we want...
No, we probably see some pretty big gains.
About a 1/2 inch in here from the valve job. I'm just going to run the cutter around flat to
Should have probably flowed those things before we...
To be honest, the flow is a bit of a number.
I'd just be curious to see how much change you got.
What I do want to do is before we change any port dimensions, I'm going to take a snap gauge. I'm going to find the smallest part of the port. I want to do runner math, figure out what it's good to, what RPM, what, you know, figure out what the cross section is good for on a, you know, this is a 468, so we have to keep that in mind. But other than that, no, just...
this is a 468?
It's a 468. So not, you know, too bad they didn't put a stroker crank in it, but I mean, when you have the technology...
You did measure the stroke? It is stock stroke?
It is stock stroke. Yeah. Stock stroke, forged crank. So, I mean, it's all good stuff, but just starting to... I'm going to go on these intake ports, and then I want to do my exhaust valve job before I start any exhaust porting, because I'm not sure how much of that I'm going to peel out with, with the exhaust cover. So, yeah, that's that. So, I'm just letting her eat. So, I mean, kind of very preliminary work. I mean,
come back to you a bit when you get into
the nice part about this is, especially, is you know, the cast iron port's all slower in aluminum. It's a little easier to come out with a nice, you know, you can do a lot more burr work, and you can come out with a lot finer product.
What's he running on for a header?
He's got like 1 7/8 or a 2 inch
chassis header, or straight up, or
no, a chassis header.
Okay.
So it's got an awful 90-degree turn down on it too. Which needs fixed.
You probably should put a bit of an extension on that, shouldn't it?
It has like an 18-inch extension with like a 90-degree that somebody cut a pipe on a 45 and like just, it's beautiful. It needs some work.
Sounds it.
So I'm gonna have to fix that before he goes trying to run it.
Reckon so.
It's got our
jewelry.
Scat rods in for a big block. That's a 6/135 rod. Hence, see the bushing?
Yep.
Great success. So this is an H-beam. This thing's got like the cheaper bolts. This is like the more budget rod.
How much are those?
I think they were $700 or 600 something bucks. These are the bolt upgrade. I mean, I've run these. This is a beefier rod than my small block ones, and I ran these in my small block with L19s. We made 1700 horsepower on them before we made them.
We evacuated one of them.
We made them wavy and we evacuated one, but this rod...
But that was after a lot of service.
And this is in a big block. It's a wider beam and stuff. I would say this rod is probably good for 1500 horse with a better bolt.
So we can put the nitrous to it.
So, I mean, even with this budget bolt, still 7/16, we should be able to spray it, make 800 horse or so with it.
Then we get the intake.
Yeah, intake's still in the box.
Actually, we got all of our parts pretty much other than the oil tank.
So it should be a pretty...
We need to pull this intake out and see what this looks like.
Yeah.
Torque converter. To work with all. We don't have a cam yet, do we?
Or no, Darren was getting that himself.
Oh, okay.
I had him order that through Summit because it was going to be a Summit Racing brand part. So that is what we ordered is a 4/7 swap. It's a 4/7 swap hydraulic roller. I get 648, 648, and I think 252, 258 at 50. So it'll be like a...
That's what these Iski valve springs look like too.
Pretty stout part. I didn't want somebody getting into this box. Take a gander at this together. First impressions?
You just like the name, that's why you bought it.
Oh yeah, Warrior. Makes me think of Jason.
They should do it in camel.
Makes me think of Jay, Warrior.
There you go. Well, you get some work doing that.
Yes or no?
Hey,
I'm not upset with that.
no. We should grab some gaskets out.
Hey boy, that's for a stock intake. This is what we were talking about before. For a stock intake, when you size down the plenum like that, it gives you a really nice shot into your runners. So that looks pretty good to me. I'm just curious.
Get a gasket out and see what matches.
Well, I was gonna try and look down through the quarters. So looking in there.
Hard to get in there and
It looks really good anyhow. It's real.
Camera is not worth a shit to show it, but it
It's
looks
real.
very good.
Real close.
I can't get
So that's good. Anyways, normally this would be a problem. This looks really good.
See this one?
Yeah.
A little bit.
Anyways, it looks fair. So that's a main concern of mine. Is always, you know, port alignment.
We shouldn't really have to do much with the runners. And
This looks pretty good. I mean, I don't think we're gonna have to enlarge or reduce anything really.
I mean, we're not trying to. We don't have cam enough and everything else to cram that much through it. So
No, this actually though, this is a great buy if you've got a set of stock rectangle heads or something like
Yeah.
that, or small port rectangle heads. You know, like you get into the race heads, the 360cc and stuff. The port's huge. This is a stock size rectangle port. You know, this is pretty good. Now it does get rid of that upper bowl.
oh yeah,
So it is definitely bigger here. You know, the stock intakes there was quite a
it's got thicker material, but it's the.
right.
I guess they just left a shitload of room for porting.
No, not totally. Well, yes and no. But normally the stock intakes would have a big bubble there in the ports and everything. This eliminates that. There's no need for that center bowl. I mean, any engine nobody needs that. So this to me is a super great buy. This should work great if we want to put a plate nitrous kit or something like that. We're going to have great distribution. That intake, albeit it is a higher RPM kind of a deal, you know, it can be used in a hydraulic roller application, especially for, you know, something that's going to live full throttle above $4,000. To me, that's...
They really changed the shape of their runners front to back.
Yeah, I see a lot of big block Chevy intakes are doing that.
Obviously, it's going to be the opposite over here.
Obviously, there's a reason for it. I'm not...
Definitely makes for unequal length runners, though.
It definitely does.
Albeit, I don't know.
I mean, if you
When
want...
the four barrels are open, I don't know.
I mean, if you want equal length runners, you put a tunnel ram on.
Yeah.
This is not that. This is single plane, not a tunnel.
Well, I mean, you're always going to have unequal no matter what you do because your centers are going to be.
In fairness, you're going to have runners individually coming in and out of tune.
Do they do something inside a little different to compensate?
No. It's just how the big block Chevy intake is.
Yeah.
Pretty good intake inside. I like this intake. All big block Chevy intakes are done like that. Every single one. You know.
Yeah, I'm not used to looking at big block stuff without tunnel rams.
Yeah, no. This is a nice, like, if you're going to be 4150 and you're going to be on a stock size port, which you don't need a Dominator on a stock size port unless you're trying to, you know, if we're trying to get the max out of these heads, you know, oh, that's all the meat we have, yeah, we can put a Dominator on it and maybe make a few more horsepower.
If we want to make that much horsepower, we wouldn't be using those heads.
We wouldn't be using those heads. So, street, you know, street
I'm thinking,
strip.
for like bang for your buck is what I'm talking about.
Street strip, this head, this intake combo, great, wonderful, awesome.
I think it's a pretty good
You know,
bang.
I mean, you can beat on that. You can probably go 10s in your, you know, hot rod with that.
I'm saying we can make 600.
I think 600 horse is the... I think if we make 600 at the dyno, it'll be a great success.
We'll see.
I mean, if it doesn't do it, it'll come very close.
Dyno doesn't lie.
To me, it should probably get there. I mean, 600 is not a high hill to climb for, you know, 468 cubes. I mean...
Be the lowest horsepower big block we ever took to the dyno.
I mean, we've only ever taken one other big block to the dyno.
Yeah. But it made more. And it was a smaller engine. It was a 427.
440 cubic inches.
Well, yeah.
It was. The heads were too big on that. We should have...
Yeah, this engine is a better max setup than that other engine was.
It is. I have to do compression math on this one. I have no idea. I have no idea what we're working with on compression on this.
Yeah, I gotta go back to work on the Dodge.
I have to continue porting my life away. Maybe for the next 68 hours.
You have fun with that.
Well, just started in taking down that bolt boss and these big block heads. I got you can see there.
Oh, yeah.
Come around the corner. You see there how we've pulled down that bolt boss.
Yeah. Show me a stock one. There you go. Oh boy. Good difference.
So that's basically, we don't want to remove too much material because you still do need holding metal.
Yeah.
But like
quite a pile of metal in there.
But that's like a huge benefit, you know, just taking a bit of material out of that. Really, it's gonna.
Yeah, it's quite a
it's gonna just soften the way the air moves through there. It's not gonna disturb it.
The factory just shine a light in there. I don't know what those marks are.
Well, it's just factory casting stuff.
It's fairly smooth though.
Yeah, no, it's a pretty good casting. I think
That's
it's
surprising.
Well, I mean, by the 90s, they had a lot of stuff figured out, but I mean, you look at it here, like, it's a nice casting, it's smooth.
Because in the 80s, stuff was garbage, you know?
Yeah, no, they made big jumps there. Really, quality's improved a lot. So, yeah, you can see I kind of just smoothened out some stuff with the die grinder there, and you know, just pulling some material. Slow but sure, but actually I haven't been super long in this.
Well, I mean, you're not going to have to be super aggressive because it's not badly done to begin with.
No, it's a pretty good thing. Somebody put new guides in it recently too, or the heads were new, I don't know. So really, honestly, it's pretty minimal.
I wonder if somebody else had made this cut up in here that we were looking at.
That's a GM cut.
His factory?
You see, once I boil the stuff out of there,
Yeah.
I mean, very minimal work, and we have something pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? So yeah, we're just finishing up on that, and we'll try and finish this up, and then I'm gonna do the other head. I have to pull it apart still, do the same thing on the intakes, and then I'm gonna start on a little bit of valve job stuff.
Exhaust valve job, you said, eh?
I'll do the intake valve job also, and then I'll come back and blend the intake valve job in. Other than that,
You could knock some of that ridge off the exhaust side and stuff anytime, couldn't you?
Yeah.
Some of that, it's up inside there. Your cutters aren't going to affect.
Yeah, no, for sure. I just want to make sure it blends nice, so I don't want to go.
Choose your weapon.
Single or dual blade.
There you go.
We got the single blade. So then this is actually this egg bit. These go really nice to like clean up in the bowls and stuff. Where before I was just using a cylinder bit with like a rounded, like a blunted nose. So like stuff like this, you see how we've got like a little bit of a ridge going on there?
Where's that now?
Just see the cutter ridges.
Okay, yeah.
If we take this, we go in there with something like this, it's gonna be so much easier to blend stuff in. Get a nice consistent radius. So see the improvements of just how that's blended in versus this one or you know, something like that. You know what I mean? So choosing the right weapon really can help you a lot. So like,
Gave you an idea, didn't I?
see, that's this versus this. I usually go and finish my bowls always with one of these. But to rough bowls out, these work great. You know, a little bigger diameter, you get a little more speed.
This thing here makes me regret it. I threw one of these away because we wore it out, buggered it up. Come to find out, they'll rebuild them for $110.
Yep.
Which,
So this, I can tell you, holding this grinder and holding that grinder, they
we ported a lot of heads with this one before we sent it for the rebuild.
I sure did, but I can tell you, this thing, a lot of porters get like terrible carpal tunnel and stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of them just use a short shank in one hand.
Yeah.
These things like this, you've got a master grab handle.
Yeah.
And honestly, all you got to do is just hold the trigger down, and you're working it, you know, with your forehand.
The only thing is you're driving into it a lot harder because you can.
Absolutely.
Those other ones,
which definitely does wear stuff, and you know there is.
I don't mean that. I mean it's putting more strain on you, but on the other hand, you're going to do it less time. So
This is significantly, like, you can definitely two-hand this grinder, but this is way more of a, you know, one-handed grinder than the other one.
I think you need to tighten your air fitting.
What I like about this, you know, a lot of porting is pretty by feel. So like this, you see there was from the edge of their cutter, there was a deep groove there. Well, I'm following the constant radius of this, so I know that my radius here to this one's going to be the same when I'm done. It just helps keep.
Yeah,
things
I'm sure
bit
you
more
don't want a big
consistent.
variation from.
Absolutely not. And stock, there's a huge variation in depth because one will cut way deep and one, this one cuts way deep, this one doesn't. So see already, this one's shallower than that one. Same thing with this one and this one. It's a kind of an issue in their machining. So there is certain things if you're doing. Now, obviously, it ran fine with that variation stock. If you're porting them at home,
We're just trying to find 5
I
horsepower
wouldn't, die worrying about
somewhere.
it. But this is kind of just, I want to do it really nice. So, I mean, it's something you got to watch out for. And, I mean, if you're paying somebody to port your heads, you don't
We want to
a
see
tiny
Darren
hole.
pull the sled through the end of the track. That's all.
I want to see the truck stand on the rear wheels. And I really want to see this go good. So I'm all about that life. So I'm going to keep cleaning up. And I guess we'll...
I'll come back to you on the exhaust side. We'll see what you're
when
doing.
we're doing some valve job stuff too. Be interesting.
So you're removing that hunk.
Well, a bit of
you can.
Yeah,
Smoothing it.
the head bolt goes there.
Yeah.
So you're pretty close. Like this, we're around 1/8 of an inch of thickness right here.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't need much thickness there.
No, you don't want to break through it.
We're very limited on what we can do. So just starting some
Put a little
material.
hunk there, though.
Yeah, just starting some material removal on that. And yeah, that's the plan.
You did all kinds of fancy in the exhaust, eh?
Fancy. I relief cut a few things. Now we're fixing to see how far off the intake seats are.
Yeah. Be interesting.
My experience is they're probably pretty close.
You think? Looks like they got a little bit of pitting, eh?
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know that it was the happiest setup ever. So, all this over to
Setting up your cutter.
I got my big, it's all 3/8 guide, right?
Can you set up that cutter with that mic I bought for the seat machine or for the seat cutter?
Yeah, but it wouldn't really mean anything. You know what I mean? Because you wouldn't be measuring to the 45, you'd be measuring
Yeah.
for the other angle, so it wouldn't really mean anything.
You're still using the old Winona
Yeah, I like the Winona.
set up for that?
I like the Winona setup tool way better than the Gibson. The Gibson setup tool kind of sucks, to be honest with
I didn't know if that mic worked, if it would be better if there was a way to make that work. But.
Turn the face converter on. Moment of truth.
What cutter you get in there?
I think this one's a 35, 45, 60. See how we're having to cut really heavy on the top to get the third angle in here? That's mainly because their factory valve job really was a bit wrong. I think really I'm gonna have to go deeper than that.
That doesn't look it, really.
No, but if I get my measuring stick out, I'm going to assume that right above the valve is a bit on the small side, or a bit on the large side. Depends the tulip of the valve too, of course, how far in that matters, right?
Yeah, I suppose so.
You know, if the tulip of the valve is taking up area at low lift, it should.
It's not a real flat type race valve, so. Those stock valves definitely have more to them.
Those do especially.
fun of this cutter is you don't have to do multiple cuts. You get one cut, you get your angles.
That's right.
And you're done.
So we've got our 3 angles there. That's really cool.
You've got a 5-angle cutter too, don't you?
Well, no, they're all 3-angle cutters, but you can do extra. This is technically a 4-angle valve job because that throats to 75 and then you go to 60, 45, 35. Or 37, whatever it is. So it's technically a 4-angle valve job. If I wanted to go out and do some chamber massaging, you know, with the other cutter, then I could, of course, and make it a 5-angle plus a radius or whatever, you know. But this is pretty deshrouded.
I think you've got the easy good out of them.
That's exactly what we want.
If you're gonna go harder than this, you're gonna have to spend a lot of time.
I was watching a video that Chad Spire did on these heads, and like for doing a really good like class truck pull, because some classes require this head, like in the States, like big classes.
Oh, really?
And his head combo with like putting the titanium valves and everything, they're $5,000 for labor if you bring a set of heads.
For a set of iron heads.
You've got $5,000 between your...
For labor, you supply the heads?
You supply the heads, he supplies the valves and the springs and all the shit. It's $5,000.
Titanium stuff?
I think it was titanium. It was...
I hope so for $5,000.
But the amount of hours that you'd have to grind these out, he puts like a 230 valve into instead of 219. And
oh, Jesus.
so, I mean, there's a lot of...
He's going to work, man.
Oh, yeah.
I'm sure he's putting out a good product. It's just, it would scare me to spend that.
Yeah, but when you're class racing, basically a crate style setup, you know, what the whole choice is.
The whole class racing thing is a crock when they start with all those mandates, because you end up spending way more. The intake side, you really didn't have to do too awful much, did you?
No, I ain't go wild.
Mostly in the exhaust side.
Yeah, pretty fair stock, to be honest.
Yeah, the intake looked pretty good. The exhaust side definitely had some room to work. You didn't...
I'll definitely give him some credit. I mean, I've definitely seen a lot worse stock products.
Yeah, I kind of like them heads, really. I mean, not really an iron head guy, but...
The short side and stuff is really bad in them, but I mean, it's a stock head. They're all bad, you know what I mean?
Wasn't that hard to deal with, though?
No. It's just, like, if you're really going to racy them up, you'd probably be, like, epoxying floor and stuff to get them, you know, dialed in.
Get them right.
Because it's weird. You'll have, like, one valve, the good port and the bad port. One, you'll have a really decent entrance. The other one's got the sharp corner. And then they've got the corner cut out of it for some reason, and it's like sharp on the corner and flat, and it's just, it's not even related from center or from port to port.
I don't know how much that shit really matters average street driving low RPM, though.
Oh, I'm sure for their stock application it didn't matter.
You know, for what they're actually building it to do.
Just saying, in a performance world.
Yep. Well, we're trying to make a chicken out of chicken shit, so. You know. But this ain't bad chicken shit to start with. I've seen a lot worse in factory heads.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm thinking if you want to build a budget big block, this is a pretty good platform.
For sure. Find somebody who's willing to port your big block heads.
And anybody can do a lot of this themselves.
Anybody should be able to do the port work that I just did themselves.
Yeah, that's
If you have any shop knowledge.
pretty straightforward work, this is.
Wasn't not brain busting, and we didn't exactly break any rules or anything like that. You know what I mean? Like it's all just kind of run of the mill stuff.
So you don't use your old level guide anymore?
Oh, it's because I have to set it up for a 3/8 guide. It's set up for a 30 seconds right now.
Probably ain't that critical with this ball drive anyway.
It's a bit critical. It likes a couple degrees of misalignment it's fine with, but I tried it the other day with a lot. and you'll see you'll randomly get a valve seat that's not concentric at
It'll
all.
crowd one side.
It'll put just the back pressure on it.
You know, I mean, those pins are only going to rotate so far. So you got to stay within what the ball will allow. Because, I mean, like it can go, really can't go that much. It can go about like that.
Yeah, you've got 2 or 3 degrees kind of
Yeah.
comfortably. Past that, you're going to start putting pressure.
Having trouble.
Pretty easy to stick a valve in there and
Yeah.
level it quickly up as well.
How's the exhaust side cutting?
Well, this may not look like a seat cutter, and that's because it's the throat size. It's not that the throat size, I wouldn't mind it being small like that. It's just that the seat hangs over the port about 1/8 of an inch.
Really?
So I'm going in there and just boring the center of the seat out so it's somewhat close to the port. And
Did you already cut the seats
it.
before that or what?
Yep. And I'll just go in there and finish it with a burr.
Those exhaust seats are hard, huh?
Yep, very hard.
Well, that's a nice shot, man.
Looks a very nice job.
Looks like you're cutting LS seats with that.
Yeah, similar.
That would open up quite a lot of flow. I mean, I think the exhaust side of heads gets, personally, I think a lot of people don't pay it enough attention.
Well, the cam companies definitely do, you know, I mean.
No, but they advertise every head on intake runner flow, everything else. Like nobody,
Yeah.
you
So-
don't see people talking about it.
I mean, you see that right there. You can see an example of it.
Yeah.
You know, then this is opened significantly more. And
If I get a straight down shot, if it would give it better.
not really.
The camera doesn't give a great
You
perspective.
come right here to get perspective.
Take it.
If you look here, you see the lip. If you look here, you see it's gone. Now we have to finish that with a burr.
It's kind of funny on the camera though. It doesn't really. It doesn't show the same as looking at it, but you just have to trust us. Well, we're gonna finish this video up here. I wanted to get some video for you of machining down these guides to hold the seals, and Ty went and did it, and I didn't get it done for you. I didn't realize he was doing it. It's a simple little tool you put on there. We'll try and show that to you another time. The heads are pretty well done up on the machine stuff and the porting stuff. You can see the seats are all done. Everything's been lapped. Everything's ready to go. We just threw them in the washer here. We finished cleaning them up. Gotta get everything scraped down. I'm not sure if we're planing them or not. If we do, I'll shoot a little video of it. Probably we'll plane them, but see what Junior wants to do. And I don't know. I think they're pretty good for a stock head. And you know, we're trying to keep this on a budget. So the more we do, the more it's going to cost. So we won't do it if it's not necessary. And hopefully we can build a budget big block that'll make 600 horsepower. We're going to do a part 2 of this video, probably a part 3 when it goes to the dyno. So just keep watching.